Wow, that's a wild mountain spirit flying through the air tonight. The news from Alaska has left fans shocked. Just moments ago, state officials finally confirmed what really happened to Marty Meierotto, the famous trapper and star of Mountain Men. For years, Marty disappeared from TV screens, going deep into the wild places he called home. Rumors spread everywhere. Some people said he'd gone off-grid for good. Others were afraid something terrible happened. But recently, Alaska's Department of Public Safety put out an official statement that changes everything. Before we get into what the officials said, stick around until the end, because the final thing they confirmed about Marty might really make you sad. For more than 10 years, Marty Meierotto was the face of true Alaskan toughness. Viewers of Mountain Men watched in amazement as he fought through snowstorms, pulled heavy traps through waist-deep snow, and survived in conditions most people wouldn't last even one day in. Born with an adventurous spirit, Marty wasn't looking for fame. He was simply living the life he loved. But as time went by, fans noticed something weird. Marty began to pull away. His appearances got shorter, his words more thoughtful, almost like he was getting ready to say goodbye. In 2020, he announced he was leaving the show, saying he wanted to spend more time with his family. But after that, nothing. No interviews, no sightings, no updates. For a man as connected to the wild as Marty, silence was louder than any storm. Then came whispers from Fairbanks. A ranger report mentioning an unknown cabin fire near the Yukon River. Local people claimed it matched the area where Marty usually trapped. Social media exploded with guesses, but officials stayed quiet. Some fans believed he had disappeared into the wilderness on purpose, while others thought tragedy had happened during one of his solo trips. But beneath the rumors, a quiet investigation had already started. Search teams were sent out secretly, searching through snow-covered forests where Marty was last known to work. They found clues, snowshoe prints, a burned-out shelter, and an old snowmobile half buried in ice. Yet no sign of Marty himself. When Alaska state troopers finally broke their silence, the entire survivalist community froze in shock. Their first report confirmed that an official search had been going on for months, kept secret at the request of the Meierotto family. The land where Marty last worked was brutal. Remote frozen land where temperatures dropped below -40 degrees, and even helicopters struggled to fly through the shifting winds. Teams with drones, heat scanners, and dogs spent weeks following the smallest clues. What they found painted a scary picture. Near the remains of the burned cabin, investigators found pieces of a trapper sled, tools marked with Marty's initials, and a burned journal with pages still slightly readable. Inside, the final entries told of getting worse weather, running out of supplies, and one chilling line: "The storm is coming faster than I thought." Local people said that around that same time, an incredible blizzard had swept through the Yukon interior, one so fierce it was called the White Silence. You couldn't see anything, and winds knocked down trees like twigs for days. The official recovery team said the huge size of the storm would have made survival nearly impossible for anyone caught in its path. Yet those who knew Marty best weren't convinced he could have been taken that easily. Fellow trappers described him as a man who could read the wind, sense danger before it came, and prepare for anything. If anyone could walk out of that storm alive, it was Marty, one longtime friend told reporters. Still, with no confirmed sighting and only pieces of evidence, hope began to fade. Then last week, a fisherman traveling along the Tanana River made a chilling discovery. A set of personal items frozen in the ice, including a handmade knife, a compass, and a small leather pouch carved with the initials MM. The moment officials confirmed the items belonged to Marty Meierotto, everything changed. That leather pouch became the most important piece of evidence in years. Inside it were a few personal keepsakes, a weathered photograph of Marty's wife and daughter, a folded note, and several gold nuggets. The note, written in Marty's unique handwriting, was short but deeply unsettling. It read, "If you find this, I went north." Those 5 words brought back hope, but also confusion. North from where? Toward what? The area north of the Tanana River is empty. a huge stretch of frozen wilderness going hundreds of miles toward the Arctic Circle where few men have ever gone alone. Alaska State Troopers immediately expanded their search area. They found faint traces of snowshoe prints leading away from the river, slowly fading into the higher ground. What confused them was the direction, straight toward jagged cliffs known by locals as the Dead Teeth, named for their dangerous slopes. Despite warnings, troopers pushed forward. Drones captured faint images of what looked like a makeshift shelter, but by the time ground teams reached it, only ashes remained. Around the site, they discovered pieces of animal hide, makeshift traps, and a torn copy of the Alaska Trapper's Handbook. The condition of these items suggested someone had survived there for weeks, possibly months after the storm. Could Marty have lived that long on his own? As the state kept quiet, a local pilot named Jim Bradford came forward, claiming he saw what looked like a lone man waving a flare near the base of the Dead Teeth during a flyover months earlier. He didn't think much of it then, but now he sure was Marty. Following Bradford's statement, officials launched a second expedition. The team consisted of state troopers, search and rescue experts, and two of Marty's longtime friends. The journey was brutal. Knee-deep snow, sudden whiteouts, and freezing winds. Every step forward was a battle against nature itself. Near a cluster of spruce trees about 2 miles from the supposed flare sighting, they found a small clearing. There, half buried under snow, stood a crude shelter made of logs and branches. Inside, the team found remains of a fire pit, bones from trapped animals, and a torn flannel jacket recognized instantly by one of Marty's friends. Next to the fire pit lay a small metal tin containing notes carefully wrapped in wax paper. The first note read like a log: dates, temperatures, food sources, and weather conditions. Classic Marty. But as they neared the end, the tone shifted. The writing grew shaky. One of the final entries read, "Running low on fuel. Cabin destroyed. Still heading north, following the sun." By the time the team returned to base, exhaustion had replaced hope. Yet, deep down, none of them could shake the feeling that Marty was still out there, surviving the only way he knew how. Days after the last search ended, Alaska's Department of Public Safety held a closed briefing. Officials confirmed the discovery of Marty's survival logs and personal belongings, but stopped short of declaring him dead. Instead, they described the case as unresolved with significant signs of extended survival. That vague wording sent the internet into overdrive. Yet one detail stood out. Thermal imaging had picked up occasional heat signatures in the northern foothills just miles from the Dead Teeth. It wasn't wildlife. The patterns were too consistent, too controlled. Former castmates from Mountain Men described Marty as a man whose instincts were almost supernatural. If anyone could cheat death in Alaska, it's him, one close friend told the press. Then, just as the search team was preparing to stop operations, a new call came in from a bush pilot who claimed he had spotted a lone figure crossing the tundra on snowshoes, dragging a sled toward the mountains. The bush pilot's claim reignited the entire operation. Within hours, troopers put together another team. They flew over the area the next morning and spotted a faint trail winding across the tundra. Fresh snowshoe prints leading straight toward the Alaskan range. As the team advanced, they found remnants of a small fire pit and a pile of bones. Snowshoe hair, neatly cleaned and stripped. Whoever was surviving out there wasn't just alive. They were doing well with skill. Before they left, a search drone captured one last image. Blurry, distant, but unmistakable. A lone figure standing on a ridge facing north, holding what appeared to be a wooden staff. That image became the symbol of his legend. In the weeks that followed, the story of Marty Meierotto's possible survival became a phenomenon that reached far beyond Alaska. But while guessing turned into obsession online, Alaska authorities worked quietly behind the scenes. After several flights, one image finally drew their attention. A small rectangular structure half covered in snow showing faint signs of heat beneath the roof. Troopers immediately sent a small team by helicopter. When they landed, they found what looked like a simple wooden cabin. The search team approached carefully, but no one responded. When they finally broke through the door, they found no one inside, only signs of recent activity. On the small wooden table lay a single note. It said, "Stop searching. I'm home." The signature read, "Marty." When news of the note leaked, disbelief spread instantly. Those closest to him said the message was undeniably his style. "That's exactly something Marty would write," said his brother, Jeff. Just hours ago, Alaska's Department of Public Safety made a powerful announcement. After years of analysis, DNA testing, and handwriting examinations, they confirmed the note was definitely written by Marty himself. But that wasn't all. The report also included new aerial footage taken just 3 weeks ago. In the footage, a figure can be seen moving through the snow, dragging a small sled, wearing a patchwork fur coat identical to one Marty was last photographed in years ago. Authorities stated officially that Marty Meierotto remains unaccounted for, but presumed alive by choice. Those last 3 words sent a shockwave through the country. Alive by choice. Marty's wife Dominique released a statement saying, "If he's chosen the wilderness, then that's where his peace is." For millions who admired him, it's the ending that feels right. Not gone, not lost, simply home.